Hi, everyone, and welcome to the second edition of Music Industry Talks. It's our second episode today, and happy Valentine's Day, and thanks so much for being here with us today. As you tune in, let us know where you're from in the comments below, and don't forget to share and like this video so that more people can see it. If it's your first time watching our webinars or hearing about Syncopated Noize Foundation, my name is Alessia. I'm the president of the organization, and I will give you a little bit of background about who we are and what we do. We are a nonprofit organization that promotes Canadian emerging musicians through events and educational activities like these. And the focus of Music Industry Talks second edition is to spotlight Canadian artists and music industry professionals of underserved communities to share their stories and help the industry stay connected during these difficult times and during the global pandemic. I would like to take a moment to thank Factor Canada for making this event possible and free for everyone to attend. And I will now leave you in the hands of our host for today, Pamela Dennis. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Alessia and Syncopated Noize Foundation for having me as a guest host. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Pamela Dennis, and I've had the chance to work with many artists and vocalists while touring the world. I'm lucky to have been able to organize events and music business networking events, which allow me to support and connect with more industry professionals and artists from various communities. And I'm currently a freelance music marketing consultant. And today I'm here with a special guest, Bayla. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm just going to present you and your story before we kind of move into the interview portion. Bayla continues to beat the odds. As a child, doctors diagnosed her with vocal cord dysfunction and said she would never be able to sing again. Proving them wrong, Bayla released her debut single, Turn It Around, in 2016, which caught on like wildfire at radio. The single went on to reach top 40 status, peaking at number 24 on the Canadian Billboard Charts and number 10 in her hometown of Montreal. Bayla followed up with Monster, gaining her second top 40 single as an independent artist. Bell Media chose Bayla as the iHeartradio Future Star. Since, Bayla has performed in festivals across Canada, sharing the stage with Simple Plan, Lights, Aaron Carter, Bif Naked, Andy Kim, and Tom Cochran. She was recently announced as the 2019 Canada's Walk of Fame Emerging Artist of the Year Grand Prize recipient in their RBC Emerging Music Program. Welcome to Music Industry Talks, Bayla, and thank you for joining us today. Your musical career seems successful and rewarding. Can you tell us how old you were when you started getting involved with music?
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me today. I mean, going back, thinking about my past and stuff, like I've always been really drawn to music. Like even as a child, like I preferred to play with my dad's stereo system than like any of my toys. And that was forbidden. I wasn't allowed to touch his equipment, but obviously when he wasn't home, I was just putting on his records, putting on his CDs and just really just enjoying that. And so like growing up, I wasn't super involved with music as like a singer or a writer because I didn't feel like I had access to it. I didn't have any instruments at home. I really just had that stereo system. And I think when I was about 8 or 9, I asked my parents for a guitar and they did end up getting me one, but I never ended up getting the lessons that they promised me. So I just taught myself how to play. And then that led to writing music. I would say my first experience doing that, really getting into it when I was probably about 13. My sister, she flooded our house. It was actually hilarious. She literally like ran the bathtub overnight, like from 4 a.m. And then when my parents woke up, like a couple hours later, probably like 3-4 hours later, our house was flooded.
Oh my
goodness. The top level of our house. And I would actually contribute a lot of my start to music from that experience because that whole summer our house was under renovation and I had to live at my grandmother's house. She had no internet, there was nothing to do there, and all I had was my guitar that I had gotten a few years prior, never played it, didn't know how to play it, and I just sat there and taught myself.
Nice. So out of a situation like this came an opportunity for you to grow. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I was like so bored out of my mind, but I really found myself writing music and just learning how to play the guitar with no help at all. Like I had no access to the internet. Um,
Mhm.
it was like, yeah, I mean, even when I was 13, like there was still, social media had started by then, and I kind of felt like I was living in the 90s again, you know?
Nice. So I guess that's where you kind of started really refining your art at that point. Like that was like a crucial moment that really puts you on that musical path. And how did you develop your music ability from then?
So I kept on writing, I kept on learning how to play music. I actually didn't even tell my family. I would always do this behind closed doors or when they weren't home. And then one day my mom walked in. I didn't realize she was home. She had probably just gotten home from work and I didn't hear the door, and she heard me singing, and she was like really shocked and surprised because I had never really shown any interest in singing prior to that. And from there, I just kept doing what I was doing, and I overcame my nervousness, overcame my shyness because I was an extremely shy kid. And, I just kept doing it, not giving up. And then slowly but surely started releasing music, putting it on YouTube, and just growing from there.
Nice. So you found the courage, you found that confidence to actually put your music out there. Because I feel like that first step, that step where the music is in your closet and to making your music public is huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people don't realize that you're putting yourself like uh, out there, like completely vulnerable with your songs.
Yeah, 100%. Like I honestly feel like it was a big moment because I was very shy, I was really nervous, but I think what really helped me was going to open mic nights and like showing my friends and showing people. Like once that barrier of my mom hearing me sing and play my music and hear me songwriting, once that barrier broke, I was able to then have some confidence, because once you realize that like someone doesn't think that you're terrible, it helps you continue, because it's really hard when you're just starting, especially as like a young person, and it's like you don't even know if people are going to enjoy it or not. So I think that's really what helped. And then just doing it. I was literally that kid who, in front of, when you do like oral presentations in school, I would be like shaking. I'd have cue cards and I'd be like this nervous wreck. And so when I think back to like where I was to where I am now, like it's pretty incredible to see that if you keep doing it, those nerves go away, and it's no longer of an issue.
That's great advice for any artist starting. Um, Thank you for sharing. Um, Could you tell us a bit about your inspirations? Actually, you mentioned earlier that your father had a few records and you would play around with them. I'm curious to know what kind of music you first, started listening to.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I listened to so much music, but probably an early favorite, probably the first moment when I was like really like felt in love with music when I was listening to Fleetwood Mac. Like I would just listen to all his Fleetwood Mac records. And yeah, that was the moment where I like felt something really like special when I would listen to music. And from there, I was just like listening to all of his music. Like I loved Alanis Morissette, Jan Arden. And then obviously like I'm a 90s kid. So like I loved like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and listening to Pink and just all of that like cool stuff. And so it was just all kind of like a mix, just mixing all of that together. Avril Lavigne, just all the good stuff from the 90s.
Nice.
The late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, so like I just listened to a lot of different stuff. I listened to my dad's like rock music as well, and it just kind of became a really big mix. I had like a really big like alternative phase as well, like Paramore, Blink 182, and just listening to that stuff. So yeah, I really love different genres.
Nice. So today, basically exploring all these different genres kind of brought you to a certain path, a musical path. And today, your genre, I listen to your music and it's very like feel good, and it's very happy and it makes you feel good type music. What genre would you classify your music in?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely doing pop music right now. but I like to pull from my different inspirations and my different genres that I love to listen to. I'm sure you heard on Turn It Around, like I really wanted that cool rock guitar,
Mhm.
but I just try to make everything sound like, in the production, I make it pop. But sometimes when I'm, writing a song, I'm just with my acoustic guitar and it doesn't sound pop. It's really just in the production process that I make sure that this is going to sound accessible. And it's the vision that I have in my head, but it doesn't always start that way. Sometimes I'm writing a song and it almost sounds like a folk song. And then, I produce it and oh, now it sounds like a pop song. So it's all in the production, right?
Yeah. Do you have a team of musicians that you work with, or maybe just a producer? How does the whole song get put together after you write it?
Okay, so usually I sit and write my music. Sometimes I'm in studio as I'm writing it and I'm working side by side with a producer. I love doing that because it just happens so quickly where, I'm working side by side with someone who's working on the beat and then I'm working on the lyrics and the melodies. And then it just kind of like over a couple hours, like my song is done. So that's a pretty fun experience too. And then, yeah, I do work with specific producers. I work with musicians as well for my live shows, and it's
Yeah.
definitely a team effort. It's definitely a team effort.
Nice. Reaching the top of the charts is no easy feat. And you obviously need to have a team of people that are working with you. Can you tell us a bit of what your team currently looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So it's pretty cool because when I started releasing music under Bayla, I had no team at all. And releasing Turn It Around is really what helped me to find my team and find the people that are going to help me in this. And through that, I was able to work with my manager, Patrice Laflamme of Mama's Boy Music. So he's an incredible manager. Honestly, I feel so thankful to have him on my team. Also a Montrealer. So he's been my number one. And, from there, there's so many people on the team right now. Whenever I release music, I'm working with a radio tracker, I'm working with a publicist. And it's definitely, again, a team effort and just trying to get myself out there as much as possible. And it's definitely work of a team. It's
Wow.
never alone.
So I was just kind of like, you mentioned that you released Turn It Around without having that team behind you. So, and it caught like you, that song was the number 24 on the Billboard charts. And you did that without a team. Now that's amazing on its own. That means you made your research, you did everything you needed to do in order to, to put it in people's ears. How did you do it?
So it's funny because everything just kind of happened at once. I don't know, but it was years of, of working at it. And then I had Turn It Around. I actually recorded that song with John Nathaniel. He's an incredible producer. I took a chance to work with John Nathaniel because I had gotten like a factor grant to help me fund that production. And that's what gave me the feeling of okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to produce something as good, best quality that I can do. And then Turn It Around happened. And I was like, okay, I need to do a music video. And again, I didn't have a team at that time. So I was just online trying to find Montreal people that can help me make a music video happen. And then once the video came out, once the video was ready, I sent it over to Mark Bergman because I had spoken to him he was the music director at Virgin Radio, and I wanted to find out from him what he thought of it, and so that's what helped me get into the radio side of things. He's the one that opened that up for me, giving me the idea of that whole plan because it wasn't super on my radar at the time. So there was that, and then at the same time I met my manager. I met Patrice and I sent him the song, and everything just one day just happened. It was pretty surreal, actually.
Amazing. Man, what a year that must have been.
Definitely. So I was at the time, the way that it got onto radio, the first time that I had radio success, it was submitted through Virgin Radio for Future Star for iHeartradio.
Yeah.
And I think it's 13 artists get submitted, and then they choose internally somebody. And I had zero, like I didn't think it was actually going to happen, but Mark Bergman literally called me. He's like, "You're going to be the future star. Your song starts playing on the radio like tomorrow." And I freaked out. And so that's why I kind of feel like it all kind of happened. It didn't happen overnight because I was working at this for years. But then once it happened, and it really opened the doors.
You know what I really like what you said is that you actually went and got advice from someone who worked at a radio station. I feel like that was a key moment because this is someone that works every day with putting music on the radio, and having someone's input, this person's input in trying to launch your music, I think must have been like a great plus for you.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Especially after like, so much thought that went into it. And at the time, like I said, I didn't have much of a team. I was really just pulling at strings and just trying to get as much advice as possible from anyone that I knew, especially people who are in the music industry to a certain degree. And so, yeah, it was pretty incredible to just be able to get to that point, to be able to release something and do it properly as well.
Nice. Bayla, I saw your performance on Canada's Walk of Fame. That looked amazing. How was that experience? Was it your first time in front of such a large crowd?
The experience was incredible. I've been playing festivals for every summer for the past few years, so it definitely wasn't my first time playing like at a with an audience that size, but it was definitely one of the most beautiful stages I've ever performed on, probably the most beautiful stage I've ever performed on.
It looked like it.
Yeah, and also just like the people that were in the audience, like I was performing to like Will Arnett, and like I was performing to so many people that I looked up to. Chris Hadfield was there. He's actually at the end of the video clapping at me, and like that's my favorite part of the performance video, is just that like I see Chris Hadfield clapping and like whistling at me, and I'm just like, cool. I love Chris Hadfield. So that was pretty incredible. I mean, the whole thing, like as an artist, when you see like competitions and you see all these things online, when you submit to these things, you submit, you forget, you don't even, you don't remember that you did it. You don't think anything of it. You don't think anything's going to happen because the chances are so small. And then getting that email from Canada's Walk of Fame telling me that I won that, I was like in shock. I was in absolute shock. But yeah, the experience was incredible. Just working with all the artists, working with Canada's Walk of Fame, the doors that they opened for me, like I'm so thankful, so grateful.
Amazing. And did you get this news during COVID, or was it before?
So this was like last year, like last fall. So like a bit over a year ago.
Okay.
And then it just all happened. Like I got an email telling me that I won. Like it wasn't a call or anything. And I thought I was being punked for a second. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then that all happened right before the pandemic started. I performed at the Canada's Walk of Fame Awards show. I played at a couple shows with them in Toronto, and then performed at Festival du Voyageur in Winnipeg. And that was right before the pandemic. So that was end of February. So like almost a year ago now.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like last year was an incredible year. And then obviously the pandemic hit, but yeah, it was a whirlwind for sure.
I bet. The key to growing steadily as an artist is to have fans. Can you share a bit on how you maintain and nurture that relationship with your fans?
Yeah, I mean, today I think social media is a big component, right? And, I'm so grateful for social media. To imagine doing this pandemic without it, like how lonely we would be. But yeah, so I would say just keeping it real on social media and being myself as much as possible on social media, showing the good times, the bad times. And yeah, I mean, it takes its effort, because you have to it's hard when you're an artist to want to show times that are not perfect and stuff, but it's super important today as an artist to really connect with your fans. So just keeping it real.
Absolutely. Your music has a feel-good vibe about it, and it's so easy to listen to. It's very accessible, and it's definitely top 40 material. What are the main themes and messages that you cover in your music?
So, what I always like to think is that I go through some difficult times and then I try to almost think of it as like, okay, if my best friend was in this position, like what would I tell them? Like, how would I give them advice on this? And usually, when you think of it that way, you can always find like a positive spin on whatever, you know, stuff that you're going through. And so I always kind of feel like my music reflects that best friend advice that I'm giving myself, which then helps me turn, crappy situations into positive ones. And so that's kind of what I like to do with my music. I like to put that positive spin. And so like turn it around, for example, I always feel like turn it around is like has been like my motto, that's like my life's motto. When they say like when life gives you lemons, like make lemonade, or like just trying to like make a bad situation a positive one as much as possible, or to like have that perspective. It's so important to get through tough times. And same with Monster. Like Monster for me was really just, it was like a response to my experience being bullied as a child, and just like owning it and like loving yourself and self-acceptance. And so you would not listen ever, you would never listen to Monster and be like, song is like about like a terrible experience. You just listen to it and feel that like positivity. And that's my goal, is to spread positivity and joy through my music and just spread that message.
Absolutely. You've had such an amazing growth in your career, and you have an amazing, all these achievements were done by you and your team. And it's hard to imagine that you were actually diagnosed with vocal cord dysfunction. What exactly is vocal cord dysfunction?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was younger, I had a vocal cord dysfunction where my vocal cords literally worked backwards. So, like, I literally woke up one day as a child. I think I was around 9 years old. And I literally could not breathe properly. Every time I would breathe, I would sound like a mouse. Like I sounded like I was squeaking, but really loud. And so, obviously, like, my parents rushed me to the hospital, and it took a while for them to figure out what it was, but they figured out that my vocal cords were working completely backwards. When you're breathing, your vocal cords open, and every time I would breathe, my vocal cords would close. So it was causing a breathing issue. And as you know, when you sing, breathing is absolutely everything. So they're like, yeah, you won't be able to sing. You're not going to be able to ever do that. And so I think that gave me a lot of it gave me a little bit of a kick in the butt to prove them wrong
Oh,
also.
yeah.
Especially like I already loved music at that point and was obsessed with
Yeah.
music, but I think that gave me a really big reason to prove them wrong. I am someone that if you tell me I'm not gonna be able to do something, I'm gonna prove you wrong. So
So how
yeah.
did you do it? How did
I,
you overcome the situation?
so even though the doctor said I wasn't gonna overcome it, like with my parents, we tried to find all different types of therapies that are gonna maybe work. And even if it wasn't gonna work fully, I was willing to try it. So I did a bunch of speech therapy that taught me how to breathe
Mhm.
again, which was very weird because you're born breathing. Like no one ever teaches you how to breathe. It's like being taught how to blink your eyes.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that's very teachable or learnable.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like after doing that, I even tried hypnosis. Like we tried everything. So we don't know. I think it was probably the speech therapy that taught me how to breathe. And then slowly but surely over a few years, I was able to get it under control. So I was one of the lucky ones who get
Wow.
diagnosed with
You
that.
got like a lucky star or something watching over you, because I'm just listening to your story, and it's just everything is, you're exactly where you need to be. Like you have had some challenges, but you were willing to overcome them. So really, I'm really happy for you, and congrats to that.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, definitely. It's always about, like, that's what life is, right? Life is a bunch of like crazy things that happen, and then it's all about how you deal with them and how you like how you perceive them, how you overcome them, and those are the moments in life that you're gonna remember.
Yeah. I like how it ties so well with your Turning Around single. It's kind of like something that you hold very close to your heart. And it's nice to see.
Definitely. Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. I obviously like always try to take those personal experiences and write somewhat of a positive song or a positive twist to it. Um, like I have so many more songs in that
Mhm.
nature that I'm really hoping to get out this
Yeah.
year. But I'm really excited. Yeah.
We know that you've performed at Pride, LGBTQ plus events. Do you identify with this community, and can you tell us about your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have been involved as much as possible. I definitely consider myself part of this community, and like just under that queer umbrella. And like, it's so important for me to be involved because that's just, you know, being involved is the closest thing that I can do to, and performing at these events. It's honestly such an incredible environment too, just performing at pride festivals and stuff. It's awesome. And yeah, so I just try to do as much as possible for the LGBTQ plus community. Super important, super important. And like those festivals are some of my favorite festivals to perform
Yeah.
at.
Was the concept of being overtly part of the LGBTQ plus community come with any challenges in your career?
I mean, I've honestly had probably like the easiest time with it. I'm one of the lucky ones. Again, I've never really experienced too much negativity from it. I'm feel like I'm one of the lucky ones that, you know, have really just, I've been surrounded by people who are so accepting. It's really not always the case. And like I'm, you know, have a lot of close people to me that have not had that experience. Which is why I want to be involved as much as possible to help be one of those supportive people. But yeah, for me, I am one of the lucky ones. I have never experienced any really negative things from it. It's always been a positive thing for me.
Nice. Good. I mean, I'm happy for you in
Thank
that sense. Um, how are you managing your music, your creativity during COVID? How are you handling all that?
Oh man, the pandemic. I felt like the pandemic came at such an interesting time for me, right? Like for everyone. I mean, it was a shock, right? I had plans to release a single right around the time the pandemic started, which I postponed, and it's been so hard to navigate to figure out like what to do and like what's the right thing, and should you release music anyways, even though maybe your marketing strategy does not work anymore in this time. But I've just been getting through it by writing and spending that time to work on the actual production. And I know that once this is a little bit better, a little bit more to that finish line, I'm going to be ready with all of this new music. Like I'm already ready. Like I'm ready tomorrow. But
Absolutely.
you know, I'm really excited to get the music out. Like it's been a long time coming, and it makes me sad to think that like I've had to wait so long to put something new out. But like I know that what's to come is like the best that I've ever made. So like I'm really proud of it. Um, and yeah, I'm just super excited for everyone, for you guys to finally hear it.
I mean, I'm excited to see what's coming next. I feel like whatever's coming next is going to be better than and bigger than whatever you did before. So I'm
um
cheering for
yeah,
you.
I'm working on it. So yeah, I am hoping, I'm you know, eyeballing summer for the next single. And yeah, hopefully it might happen a little sooner than that, but definitely this summer it's gonna happen at the very latest. So yeah, I'm excited.
Great. Do we have any? Do you have any current? Well, you were talking about your upcoming projects, but you didn't really say what. Do you have more singles coming out?
So I've been working on so much music. I've even been writing for like other artists, because there's only so much music you can get out, like especially as a writer, there's only so much you can release on your own for yourself. So I've been quite busy with that. And the stuff that's coming out of mine will definitely start off as singles, but I'm gonna have my EP or full album ready. Like it depends on the timing of when I'm releasing it, but like I already have an album ready to go, you know? I'm
Wow.
just like
Okay.
just finishing the productions, like mixing and mastering. So like I have everything ready to go. So like all the options are on the table. But yeah, you know, today it's so hard to release like a full project. I think it's easier to focus one single at a time, because then you have like the time to like release the visuals and to talk about the message of that one song. You know, I'll try again to like promote to radio and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, there's lots of big plans coming, that's for sure.
Nice. Very nice. So thank you so much for sharing your artist um, life development with us and your like stories regarding your vocal dysfunction. That for me really touches me because I've had vocal nodules in the past, and you know, doctors first thing they say is like surgery, surgery. But I went to see a speech therapist, and I did the work, and so it really spoke to me what you were experiencing.
Oh, awesome.
So
Glad to hear that you recovered as well from that.
yeah, it's very scary. It's so scary. But yes, so I'd like to thank everyone for watching our second episode of Music Industries Talks with Bayla. If you enjoyed the event, hit like, comment, and share this video. Thanks to our speaker for sharing her story with us today. Thanks to Factor Canada, to all of you from home for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Foundation mailing list for updates on our upcoming events at syncopatednoise.org, and follow our social media pages at Syncopated Noise on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Music Industry Talks will be back next Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time with another surprise guest host right here on Facebook Live. Thank you for having me, and thank you for watching.